Building full stack application used to require us to have a full development team plus years and years of coding experience. But with Antigravity, you're now able to build full production ready applications with authentication and databases without writing a single line of code. And so in this video, I want to show you exactly step by step what Antigravity is, how you can use it, and the step-by-step framework that we use to be able to make a full stack application from an idea to the actual deployment. And in case it's your first time here, my name is Michele and I've scaled my own AI agency to 6 figures, helping over 50 businesses to implement AI solutions and taught over 20,000 people in the process, all starting with zero technical knowledge. With that being said, let's dive in. All right, so to download Antigravity, you have to go to antigravity.google/download, and then you can choose your device right here. Once you're logged in Antigravity, all you have to do is connect your Google account. And you can then get on this page right here. On the left-hand side, we have the Explorer. On the middle, we have the actual folders. And then on the right-hand side, we have the chat. Now, all of these here, I already covered in my actual tutorial showing you how to use it as a beginner. You can check it out up here. So every single time that we're building applications or anything with Antigravity, we're building it inside a project, and a project equals a folder in our desktop, in our computer, right? And so that's why here it says open folder. So when I press on this, now what I have to do is I'm going to go to my Claude code folder that I stored the Antigravity, and I can press new folder. It's Antigravity 2. And now what will happen is that when I press open, every single thing that we will build for the next application will be stored in that folder. Why? Well, it's because whenever I want to build a new application, we can simply just open a new folder. And so you can always store your things in your MacBook or your computer and then always bring it back if you want. If you want to close a folder, you can go to close folder here, close folder, and then you can simply open folder as well if you want to. Now, as we're building the application, you'll be able to see what happens in the middle. I'd rather show you than tell you. And on the right-hand side, we have the chat feature. The chat feature is sort of like a chatbot that you can speak to, and it's the one that we're going to be talking to when actually building it. Now, one important thing here is that we have planning and we have fast and then we have the model itself. Gemini 3 Pro or Gemini is better at making nice looking websites, whereas Claude Opus 4.5 is better at integrating different tools together. All right, so to build today's application, we're going to be using the framework, planning, testing, and deploying step-by-step process. The first one is framework. So what does a framework actually mean? Framework means that we're going to give Antigravity instructions as to how it should think when building the application. Because just like a developer, if you tell him build an application, he'll build it in his own way. And the next time he might build it a different way. To avoid that, we give it a framework, a step-by-step process that it has to go through every single time when building these applications. So all I have to do here is press new file, and I can call this claude.md. I'm going to go here to the custom section, templates vault, and then I should be able to see the prompt under vibe coding, which is this one right here. I'm then going to copy this whole prompt here, bring it back, and then paste it. And then I can save the file. Okay. Now, what do? We now gave Antigravity something that we call a 3-layer architecture, which is the way that, it would build the actual software. Layer 1 is directives, which tells it exactly where it should store all the different files that it builds. Layer 2 is orchestration, which is basically giving it instructions as to how it should think. And then we have layer 3, which is execution, more instructions towards what it should do when it's making the actual software. Now, this is something that I do every single time that I work with Antigravity, because the actual quality of work, it's so much higher when you have this architecture, because now it follows a simple framework that actually works and it's very, very structured. So once we have this in place, all we have to do is paste this right here, initialize this project based on the claude.md file. I'm going to choose planning because now I get to see all the different steps that it does. And I'm going to choose Claude Opus 4.5 because it's the best when it comes to reasoning. I'm going to press enter. And now what it should do is it should start making all the different folders right here, so that when we actually build the application, then we know exactly where everything is going to be stored. So as you can see, I'm not actually building the application yet, setting up the structure, setting up the foundation, so that when we do build it, it's going to be much better. All right, so I just said project initialized successfully, which means that now we basically have the structure of folders here, right? Nothing's inside, so the software is not made, but we made the structure as to like, hey, the backend is going to be stored here. The directives is going to be stored here. The execution is going to be stored here. And then the front end is going to be stored here, right? And if you're a bit confused at this point, just understand the fundamental that we are telling Antigravity, hey, when you build the app, you have to store these files in these different folders. So then it becomes much more structured when it gets to the implementation. All right, so the next part of the framework is called planning. So I'm going to paste this prompt right here, which is a prompt to build the app. So we say build a simple habit tracker app where users can create daily or weekly habits and mark them as completed. The app should track streaks, show the current and longest streak, and clearly indicate when a streak is broken. Data must persist, so habits and progress are saved between sessions. The UI should be minimal and focus on making it obvious what needs to be done today. Now, the thing about building softwares with Antigravity is that when it comes to the look of the software, it's pretty much going to decide it on its own. And I don't really like that. I like to be very, very descriptive and give it as much detail as possible so it can make the actual software as close as to what I want it to make. Now, to be able to make the actual app look nice, I have to give it some example of what I want the picture or the UI to look like. So what I'm going to do is you go back here and go to Dribbble. And Dribbble is a place where you can basically get different image designs that you can paste into Antigravity. I can go to here. I can put habit tracker. All right, so once we put habit tracker, we get on this page right here. We get to see different kind of dashboards that we can use. I do like this one, so I can use this one. All I have to do is copy image. And then here I can simply paste it. And I'm also going to say, make sure to look at the reference image, which is the one that I attached here when making the design of the habit tracker. I'm actually going to turn this to Gemini 3 Pro High because in this case, the AI just has to make the actual software and it doesn't require a lot of complex thinking. I can press run. So as you can see here, Antigravity is now building the actual software. I can see the brand guidelines that I have here, which we'll use when making the actual habit tracker. All right, so Antigravity just started planning how it's going to build the actual software, and it made something called a task list. And what this is, it's a list of tasks that Antigravity has to do to be able to make the software. And it's great for us because we get to see exactly how it's structuring, how it's thinking through what it needs to build. And we also get an implementation plan, which is a full plan that Antigravity has to follow whenever making the actual application. All right, so now I just made the actual software and it's actually going inside the software to test the different functionalities of the thing, which is one of the things that Antigravity does, which works really, really well because I'm not touching anything. It goes, it tests, right? As you can see now, it failed to load habits and it shows that there's an error, which means that now Antigravity will go back and actually fix the software. All right, so I just finished testing the app. We can see that we have the localhost link, which I can press and it will take me to the actual application itself. And I can see that it has different days and we can add the habits here by pressing plus, read 10 pages. So the writing is in white, so I'm gonna have to change that. I can press create a habit. And if I press completed, now I should say that I have 1 day streak, which is great. So pretty simple interface. Of course, we can make it a lot better. And I'm going to change the writing, but also I'm going to add one more feature as well. So this is where we get to step 3, which is testing. So part of testing is changing the actual app and making sure we have different features. And I told it firstly to change the text to make it black so I can see it. And the second thing, I want the app to have some sort of login because then everybody will be using the exact same thing. And I want someone to have to put their email and password first or sign in with Google like a normal software before being able to go and use the software. And to do this, I'm going to use a server called Firebase, which makes it able for us to host and to deploy the actual automation, but also to change and add different features. So the first thing we have to do here is go to the 3 dots above and go to MCP servers. And this is the way that we're now able to use all these different softwares and connect them all to our app in Antigravity. And if this is the first time that you hear about MCP, it stands for Model Context Protocol. Very fancy word to say that, hey, we have this software right here, and which is, I mean, in this case, we have this application. And we want this application to have authentication, which means that the place where people can put their email and password. But we can't do that unless we're using a software called Firebase. And so the MCP allows us to take this software, Antigravity, and this software and connect them to each other automatically. And so here I can look for Firebase. And I can see that I have the Firebase here, MCP. I can press on this and you can press install. And when you see enabled, make sure to go to the manage MCP service and you should be able to see the Firebase MCP here. So what we're doing here now is we're saying, hey, you have access to my Firebase login. You have access to my Firebase logout, get projects, list apps, list projects, config, create project, create apps, all these different actions that we can do within our software Firebase. Antigravity can basically do them. Now I can go back to the agent and I can press go. And what it should do now, it should use the MCP of Firebase. It should first change the actual text here in its own files. And it should ask us to authenticate our Firebase as well, because I didn't log into Firebase yet. As you can see now, it also added the authentication Firebase, which is the feature. And it consists of Firebase setup, front-end auth, and also back-end auth. And these are all things that you fundamentally need to understand the structure, but not how the code actually works. As you can see now, to be able to add the authentication in Firebase, it's going to use the MCP tool, which is the MCP server of Firebase, so the connection to Firebase. All right, so as you can see here, now it's asking me to log into Firebase. So I can press the Firebase login link. I can press open. Now it's gonna add me to this page. Choose your account. You can press continue, allow. I can press yes, I ran this command. Yes, my session ID. I can copy this code right here. And I can bring it back to here and I can say, here's my code. All right, so the next thing we have to do is add a project in our Firebase console. So I can press this link right here, or you can simply go to console.firebase.google.com. I can press get started by setting up a Firebase project. I can name this habit tracker, accept, continue, continue, continue again. create project. Now we're going to create the project here so that we're able to then modify the actual app with the authentication. And here we have the project, which is habit tracker. Then it says, name it Antigravity habit tracker. It's okay. So I forgot to name it Antigravity habit tracker. I can rename this. I believe I can go to settings and general. I can rename this to Antigravity habit tracker. Save. There we go. Then once I created the project, go to project settings, gear icon, project settings, and get the project ID. Here, general. So I can just copy the project ID, or you can go on the URL here. And it's also from habit to here. So from project to settings. You can go back and say, here's my ID. I can paste it. And now I can press run. All right, so I just finished adding the actual feature. I'm going to go to the link right here. I can then press sign in with Google. It should bring me back to this page. So it actually did nothing, which is interesting. And it also doesn't allow us to log in with email and password, which is a problem. I'm going to try again. Nothing here. So here I'm saying, I'm trying to press sign in with Google, but nothing's happening. It doesn't lead me anywhere. And also I don't have the option to add the option to sign in with email and password only, not with Google. So either or. And this is part of working with Antigravity, is telling it exactly what you don't like, what you like, what it needs to change, what's not working, because it's not perfect. This is not perfect. It's amazing, but the better instructions you give it, the better structure, the better prompts, the better frameworks you use, then the better the app will be. So it's telling me that I actually need to enable authentication providers. I can go to my Firebase console. So I have to go to my console under build. I can see that I have authentication. Right here, I can press get started. And then for email and password, I can press enable, save. And I can also then enable here, Google, enable this. I can choose my email, save. And what I'm doing here is I'm telling Antigravity, hey, you're not able to use Google and email and password as authentication methods. So let me go back and say, okay, I just did it. Keep going and finish the app. All right, so now it's testing the new feature that I just updated. As you can see, it's going in here, signing up, making an account, and it works. Whether we have Google or whether we have the normal email and password. All right, so I just finished implementing the feature. As you can see, all the completed tasks are finished. If I go here to a guest tab, I can paste this, and now I have the welcome sign into your track habits. I have the email and password, but I also have the Google option here. I'm going to press sign up. I'm going to put my name and my email and then my password. I'm going to press sign up, and now it will make an account just for me. And I can then start using the app. So I can put read 10 pages. There we go. And now it works perfectly fine. So now you have an authorization layer between you and the software. And now we get to the last step, which is deployment. So what I'm going to say here is, hey, can you please deploy the app now and use the MCP of Firebase? And yeah, just host it on the Firebase hosting so I can see it there. I can then press go. All right, so after a few minutes, we can see that it deployed the app. I can then use this link right here. I can paste it. And now I can see that I have the sign up screen. And I can press sign up here. I can put my name, my email, and then a password. And now it will log me into the actual app itself. I can start adding habits. So read 10 pages. Create a habit, and then I can press completed as well. So now you know exactly how you can take an idea of a full stack application and turn it into a real deployment. And if you want to work with me one-to-one to be able to take these skills and turn them into an actual business, then check out the first link down below. And if you like this video, then you're going to love this video up here, where I show you how you can use Claude Code better than 99% of beginners. With that being said, I really hope you found value from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.